Today we are discussing E3, official timetable, some presents and some absentees, and my prediction for this year's E3 and Summer Games Fest. Starting with Summer Games Fest, Summer Game Fest is returning this summer, stoking anticipation for video games in the year ahead. The event's schedule details its events between June 10th and June 23rd, with an EA Play showcase scheduled for July 22nd, promising many reveals and updates for fans this summer. Today, a newly released trailer should further fans' excitement for Summer Game Fest. The hype trailer is dedicated to enticing fans with less than a week until Summer Game Fest's kickoff begins. Summer Game Fest premiered last summer in May of 2020 and ran until August, debuting world premiere trailers, in-game events, and playable content in sporadic increments. But besides the many games that will be shown and announced, Summer Game Fest's special guest lineup has also been revealed in increments, with many guests having ties to games that are releasing. Many games and developers are slated to appear, and Jeff Keighley has recently shared a new trailer celebrating Thursday's opening ceremony that he himself has edited with the intent of getting fans excited about June 10th. The trailer gives quick glimpses of many games that will be appearing either in the opening kickoff or throughout the month's schedule, such as Kena Bridge of Spirits, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Horizon Forbidden West. The band Weezer will join Summer Game Fest and play on the June 10th opening night kickoff, which is stated to be DMCA-free for anyone who is co-streaming the event. The trailer concentrates on announced games that fans have already had a look at before. Fan speculation is extrapolating around rumors about Summer Game Fest and other teases on the internet that suggest certain games will make an appearance. Summer Game Fest remains an opportunity to showcase game developers' efforts, since developers have been tasked to launch video games with employees working from home and under other challenging circumstances. Keighley, who hosts and produces many large-scale events in the industry, spearheads Summer Game Fest, and is the face the brand wears to showcase the monumental efforts he places in the developer-focused event. For fans, the event is a great hallmark of the summer. Summer Game Fest appears alongside other events this summer, including E3, and as such, there's potential for a game to appear in one or many events. More scheduled announcements and events participating in Summer Game Fest may be addressed throughout June's already packed itinerary. But with multiple developer showcases, musical performances, and playable demos planned, fans have a lot to look forward to this month. Elden Ring fans have suffered many devastating disappointments thus far, as the game has no-showed a number of high-profile events since it was revealed in 2019. However, if Jeff Keighley's recent tweet means what gamers think it does, the wait to see Elden Ring in action is almost over. For context, the tweet seemingly backs up the notion that Elden Ring will be at E3. Specifically, the game will apparently be shown at Summer Game Fest, explaining Keighley's playful Twitter tease. Set to host Summer Game Fest, Keighley would likely be the one to present the game. With nothing official shown for Elden Ring since it debuted at E3 in 2019, seeing it appear at the same event 2 years later seems fitting, and Keighley re-revealing Elden Ring would finally help him get out of gamer jail. Given all the rumors and theories in the lead-up to last year's Game Awards, I am expecting to see Elden Ring shown during the event. However, much like other events, it did not appear, and gamers responded by jokingly imprisoning its host in a prison. Twitter user at 9_volt_ was responsible for the viral tweet, and the image shows Keighley surrounded by some red lights on the Game Awards stage. With these lights creating the makeshift jail, the meme works well, and it seems like Keighley is making a clear reference to this joke with his recent Panda tweet. As a result, I believe that Elden Ring footage is imminent. With Reset-era comments from Insider Omnipotent also hinting at the Summer Game Fest showing, it seems more likely than ever that gamers will finally get to see some new Elden Ring footage. While more Elden Ring memes will surely flow if the game does not appear at E3, fans have good reason to be optimistic about these latest teasers. As odd as it may seem, this random panda gif from Jeff Keighley actually holds a lot of weight, as it seemingly sees the host confirming that he will be showing off Elden Ring during the Summer Game Fest. A few days out from the 2021 Summer Game Fest, host Jeff Keighley opened himself up to questions in a Reddit AMA. Likely spurred on by Keighley's cryptic tweet from Saturday, several Elden Ring fans swarmed the comments asking about the highly anticipated game. Jeff Keighley opened the thread by stating that he couldn't discuss which games might make an appearance during the upcoming event. However, that did not stop Elden Ring fans from flooding the thread with questions. This is hardly the first time Elden Ring fans have made their anticipation known. Anyone who was on Twitter during Sony's State of Play event back in February is likely aware of their frustration. And to be fair, it wasn't only Elden Ring fans disregarding Keighley's warning about what he could and couldn't say. BioWare and Elder Scrolls fans were also asking if their favorite developers or franchises might appear. However, questions about Elden Ring were definitely the most common. While many just asked directly, a few decided to be a little cheeky about it. For example, one Redditor asked, "How many Ring-themed games will be present this year?" There were also plenty of references to Elden Ring memes. Others asked about Jeff's release from Gamer Prison, referring to an image of the host locked in a cage after Elden Ring's absence from last year's event. Others asked if the sky was burning or referenced other lines from the Elden Ring E3 2019 trailer. There were also many jokes about the solar eclipse that will be visible over the northeastern US on June 10th, the day of the show. As some on the thread noted, it will look like the eclipse from Dark Souls 3, which was developed by the same studio now working on Elden Ring. One person even asked Keighley if he had that in mind when scheduling the event. Keighley responded by saying that he hadn't even known about the eclipse before people started bringing it up in reference to Elden Ring. Developer From Software announced Elden Ring in 2019. It gained immediate attention as a dark fantasy RPG co-written by a Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. Martin's writing and From Software's game design seemed like the perfect combination. Unfortunately, the game's potential makes the anticipation and lack of news all the more frustrating for fans. It also prompted a few jokes about Martin's difficulty completing projects. So far, Elden Ring fans haven't managed to wring any answers out of the game industry. Rumors suggest that the Summer Game Fest may include some mention of the upcoming action RPG. However, if fans come away disappointed, it wouldn't be the first time. I am looking forward to Elden Ring, and PlayStation is also present there. So they may showcase some games or present a state of play for smaller indie titles like Little Devil Inside, Solar Ash, Stray, Saifu and Kena Bridge of Spirits, because they will definitely have a bigger showcase or a PlayStation experience at June or July. Kojima Productions head Hideo Kojima has a close relationship with the Game Awards host Jeff Keighley, which has been on full display at the Game Awards throughout the years. It seems as though the Kojima and Keighley collaborations will continue with Keighley's Summer Game Fest, as the Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid creator is now officially confirmed to be involved with the show. The extent of Hideo Kojima's involvement with Summer Game Fest this year is unclear, so fans should keep their expectations in check. However, there is a Summer Game Fest presentation taking place on Thursday, June 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, which will include various game reveals and announcements. Kojima Productions has a history of making reveals at Keighley events like the Game Awards, so many are hoping to see the studio's next game at Summer Game Fest. As for what Kojima Productions' next game is, that remains to be seen. Hideo Kojima has hinted in the past that his next game is a horror game, which would undoubtedly generate buzz thanks to PT. Kojima's PT had horror fans excited to play the legendary game developer's version of Silent Hill, though unfortunately Konami wound up canceling the project before it could finish development. It's entirely possible that Kojima Productions will reveal its new game this week, though it's just as likely that no new game announcement will take place. Insiders think that Kojima's new horror game won't be at E3, but then again, Summer Game Fest isn't technically E3. Nothing has been said about whether or not the game will be at Summer Game Fest, but again, fans should keep their expectations in check. Whether or not Kojima Productions reveals its next game this week is up for debate. All we know at this point is that Hideo Kojima has some kind of involvement with Summer Game Fest. But with Summer Game Fest's keynote presentation taking place on June 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, fans should get their answers in a matter of days. So, Summer Games Fest is stacked up, and it's time to move to E3. E3 has been the biggest gaming event of the year for decades, only missing out on 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the ESA is bringing E3 back with E3 2021, which will take place from June 12 to June 15 and feature some of the world's biggest gaming companies. While much of E3 has remained shrouded in mystery, the ESA has now officially revealed the full schedule, though some specific presentation times still have yet to be announced. Hosted by Alex Goldenboy Mendez, Jackie Jing, and Greg Miller, E3 2021 will kick off on June 12 with a pre-show at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Ubisoft will then have the first full press conference with its Ubisoft Forward event, starting at 12 p.m. Pacific Time. E3 2021 viewers can also look forward to a presentation from Gearbox Entertainment, the developer of the Borderlands games, though a specific time has not been determined just yet. Then on June 13, fans can look forward to the joint Xbox and Bethesda Games showcase at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Later in the day, a special presentation from Square Enix will take place alongside the PC Gaming Show and the Future Games Show, all of which should have major new gaming announcements as well. Warner Bros. Interactive will also have its Left 4 Dead spiritual successor Back 4 Blood to show on June 13. 24 Entertainment will also have a showcase on June 13. The E3 2021 festivities will continue on Monday, June 14 with presentations from indie developers, Take-Two Interactive, Mythical Games, Freedom Games, Razer, and Resident Evil company Capcom. Verizon and Intellivision will also have a presence on Monday at E3, though the extent of what they have to show remains to be seen. The last day of E3 2021 will feature a presentation from Nintendo at 9 a.m. Pacific Time in the form of the highly anticipated E3 2021 Nintendo Direct presentation. The Nintendo Direct will consist of about 40 minutes of game reveals, followed by a 3-hour-long Nintendo Treehouse live presentation that will offer some more in-depth gameplay. Nintendo will share the spotlight on Tuesday, June 15 with Bandai Namco and Eureka Games. And finally, E3 2021 will conclude with the official E3 2021 awards show. Needless to say, there should be a ton of gaming announcements for fans to look forward when E3 2021 officially kicks off on Saturday, June 12. Koch Media also announced their involvement, and specific times for some of the presentations should come to light in the days leading up to E3 2021. It's the calm before the storm as far as gaming showcases are concerned, with next week seeing the games industry's biggest publishers, except PlayStation, dishing out information about new games either as part of E3, Summer Game Fest, or any of the other events taking place in June. Ubisoft is among the publishers that leads the race, that will be revealing new information about its games, and fans now know what it will be sharing. The next Ubisoft Forward event will air on June 12 at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, with a post-show planned to start at 12:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The lineup will show games from most of Ubisoft's major franchises, though the headliner will be the next entry in the Rainbow Six Siege franchise. Previously dubbed Rainbow Six Quarantine, the game is being renamed for obvious reasons. Monday morning, Ubisoft took the opportunity to reintroduce Rainbow Six fans to a game that's been off the radar for a while. The COVID-19 pandemic hit game development in many harsh ways, but co-op tactical shooter Rainbow Six Quarantine had the added factor of no longer being in good taste. Ubisoft's now ready to reintroduce the game, rebrand as Rainbow Six Extraction. Extraction appears to be identical Quarantine, but without being immediately connected to the ongoing pandemic. Ubisoft won't be waiting any longer to start sharing more information about the newly rebranded Rainbow Six Extraction either. Alongside the announcement of the new name, Ubisoft released 2 videos. The first video allows Ubisoft Montreal producer Antoine Vimmel du Montel to personally reintroduce the game with its new name. One of Ubisoft's key goals with this video is explaining how Extraction fits the game, focusing on gameplay allowing players to push forward or extract in a cycle of risk-reward. The second video is a new cinematic teaser trailer setting up Rainbow Six Extraction's story, showing a mysterious alien substance interacting with futuristic technology. But the bigger reveal is the closing announcement that Rainbow Six Extraction will be featured during Ubisoft's E3 2021 presentation on June 12. Rainbow Six Extraction was originally announced ahead of E3 2019. At the event, Ubisoft described it as a cooperative tactical shooter that is played in squads of 3, but with a sci-fi spin. At the time, Extraction was originally slated for release in 2020, but as everyone is well familiar with how the COVID-19 pandemic changed plans. Since the pandemic began, Rainbow Six Extraction has been kept out of the spotlight. Ubisoft's certain to have spent that extra year productively. Also reconfirmed is that Rainbow Six Extraction will remain a tie-in experience to Rainbow Six Siege. This was confirmed in 2019 when the game's announcement trailer featured several of Rainbow Six Siege's operators. In the new videos, Ubisoft once again referred to Siege's operators being playable characters. It's now been 2 years since Rainbow Six Extraction was first announced, and Ubisoft is finally ready to start sharing more about the game. Fans can also expect more updates on Far Cry 6, which is slated to release later this year. There was a Far Cry 6 gameplay showcase roughly a week ago, though the new slice should offer more for fans to see. Specifically, the blog post cites diving into Yara, as well as highlighting the action-packed adventures that players will encounter there. It sounds similar to the last showcase, but with the game releasing in just a few months, it seems safe to assume that fans will see some new stuff. Other, smaller highlights include Riders Republic, which is something of a successor to Steep, and updates to some of Ubisoft's live service games, with Assassin's Creed specifically being mentioned. Rounding out the list are updates for some of Ubisoft's non-video game projects, like the Apple TV series Mythic Quest and the movie Werewolves Within. All of these announcements will land alongside other major showcases, including Xbox and Nintendo's big new announcements for the year. Each publisher seems to be bringing out the big guns too, so fans should be getting updates on some of the major projects that have gone radio silent because of the coronavirus pandemic. For Ubisoft fans, specifically, confirmation that some of the publisher's biggest games will be there should be welcomed. Plus, the publisher is promising some extra big announcements as icing on the cake. Ubisoft has a few titles in development that haven't received updates, including Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Skull and Bones. Plus, new games are always attention grabbers during showcases like this, so Ubisoft fans might have even more to look forward to in the future. The disappointing part is that Ubisoft offers an update on Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, and it includes some bad news for fans looking forward to the game. Last year, Ubisoft pulled the curtain back on Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, but it didn't necessarily get the response that the company expected. While many fans are undoubtedly excited to jump back into the Prince of Persia games, others were highly critical of what they saw, with many complaining about Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake's graphics. Following the controversy about its graphics, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake was delayed from its planned early 2021 release date, with no new solid release date in sight. Unfortunately, those who may have been hoping to see updated graphics for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, or get a new release date at the upcoming Ubisoft Forward event at E3 2021 should keep their expectations in check. In a message to the community, the developers of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake confirmed that the game will not be at the Ubisoft Forward event. The developers also said that they have been making great progress for the game to release next year, seemingly confirming that Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake's release date has been pushed back to 2022 at the earliest. It is also confirmed that no Division content will be at the event. On one hand, Prince of Persia, we may be disappointed that they won't get to see the game at E3 2021 as they may have anticipated. On the other hand, fans may prefer the developers to take their time focusing on actually developing the game instead of putting together trailers for events like the Ubisoft Forward at E3. Fans should be able to expect an update once more significant progress has been made on the game. While Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake won't be at the Ubisoft Forward event at E3, other Ubisoft games have been confirmed for the big show. This includes Rainbow Six Extraction, which was previously known as Rainbow Six Quarantine, as well as the upcoming open-world game Far Cry 6. Updates on games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Riders Republic will also be featured at the Ubisoft Forward. Of course, it wouldn't be E3 without some surprises, and so Ubisoft fans can expect the company to reveal new games as well. What these new Ubisoft games will be are anyone's guess, but hopefully fans get updates on some of the Ubisoft games that have been stuck in limbo, like Beyond Good and Evil 2 or pirate game Skull and Bones. One of Ubisoft's looming announcements for E3 2021 may have just been leaked, if a series of images shared by Twitter user zer0bytes_ are to be believed. The Ubisoft leaker claims to have details about a new The Division spin-off game named Battlecat that crosses over Splinter Cell, The Division, and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. These three franchises will collide in a new PvP game, with testing already having begun as early as January 2021. zer0bytes_ shared 8 different images that look like they're either loading screens or informational splash pages from a PowerPoint presentation. They could be data mined or leaked assets from Ubisoft, though zer0bytes_ doesn't share where they received their information. Regardless, the 8 images detail game modes, factions, and faction abilities, for what appears to be a first-person multiplayer shooter akin to Overwatch or other team-based shooters. The crossover element of Battlecat is shown in the images showing each faction. Factions include Echelon, which relies on subterfuge and stealth. One of Echelon's characters even has Splinter Cell's 3-eyed goggles. Next is Ghost Recon Breakpoint's Wolves, an ex-Special Forces unit with extra body armor, shields, and other defensive capabilities. The Cleaners, from The Division, have a napalm turret and other high-damage fire abilities. Lastly, the Outcasts, also from Breakpoint, are Battlecat's support/healer faction. The most informative images are the 2 game-type summaries. First is the Escort game mode, which describes 2 teams' attackers and defenders. Players will escort a machine called the Package from checkpoint to checkpoint until reaching the delivery zone. In other words, it's essentially what's available in Overwatch. The second game mode, Ringleader, has teams collecting rings from fallen enemies. The player with the most rings becomes a ringleader and can bank their rings if they survive 30 seconds. The remaining 3 images hint at Battlecat's gameplay. One of the images is a first-person screenshot showing the player wielding the Division faction's Cleaner's flamethrower, dubbed the Purifier. A second also appears to be a first-person screenshot showing the Outcast's Divine Intervention ultimate ability. Then the last image shows of the Division-esque user interface showing abilities for the Outcasts, including passive and active abilities. Suffice to say, Battlecat appears to be a first-person team-based competitive multiplayer game akin to Overwatch, but built out of The Division. It features factions instead of heroes/characters, each of which are pulled from a Ubisoft game franchise. It could also easily be entirely fake, as there's no telling whether the images are legitimate or not. Splinter Cell and Prince of Persia definitely need a reboot, and instead milking Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft really needs to bring the legendary franchises back. Up next we have the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. The last 2 years have seen Microsoft go on a proverbial spending spree to grow its family of Xbox-exclusive studios. Its last acquisition, Bethesda, appeared to shake the gaming industry as beloved franchises like Fallout and the upcoming Starfield would now likely be Xbox exclusives. While it was a big acquisition, a new report says Microsoft is not slowing down and could be announcing its latest acquisition as part of its E3 2021 press event. As I already said, Xbox needs to deliver this time for their gamers, and they need to produce quality stuff and must show games running on the Xbox Series X, not on a PC. E3 2021 is set to be an all-online event due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which forced E3 2020 to be cancelled outright. Microsoft will remain to serve as a centerpiece attraction of the show, and will help kick off E3 on June 13th. Microsoft is expected to talk more about what the Bethesda acquisition means for the company and speak about other upcoming titles, notably Halo Infinite. However, several posts online by Windows Central reporter Jez Corden suggests Microsoft may announce another studio acquisition as part of the event. Twitter user Idle Sloth shared posts by Corden, who has a history of accurate information about Microsoft and Xbox projects, speaking about the alleged acquisition. Corden said he was told Microsoft recently picked up multiple intellectual properties and believes there's a good chance another acquisition will be announced. Regardless of the size, another acquisition would be big for Microsoft given the streak it has been on. The last 2 years have seen Microsoft announce multiple studio acquisitions to grow the Xbox Game Studios family and expand its library of Xbox exclusives. Obsidian Entertainment, Playground Games, Ninja Theory, and Double Fine Productions are just a few of the studios Microsoft has acquired since 2018. However, the Bethesda acquisition is easily the biggest as it added another 8 development studios to the Xbox family overnight. A driving reason for the acquisitions appears to be for Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft's game streaming service. Head of Xbox Phil Spencer teased at the start of 2021 Xbox Game Pass was set to have a big year, and it seems the Bethesda acquisition plays right into that. This new acquisition, if true, would do just the same. Phil Spencer always says, "This is our best showcase ever," and always disappoints us, and then the term would be wait for next E3. This time, it should be different and he should keep his word. Up next we have the Square Enix presentation. Thursday morning, Square Enix finalized the date of its E3 2021 press conference. Fans of the Final Fantasy publisher can see what's coming next from Square Enix on June 13th at 12:15 p.m. Pacific Time via Twitch and YouTube. Square Enix didn't stop there, however. In a follow-up news post, Square Enix also shared some clues about what games to look forward to. The Square Enix Presents Summer 2021 event had 3 specific games mentioned and 1 big teaser. To start, the big teaser is described as a major new game world premiere. The only official detail about the project that Square Enix shared was the game's developer. Eidos Montreal, the studio behind Thief, Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, will be revealing its next major project as part of Square Enix's E3 2021 press conference. Eidos Montreal isn't the only Square Enix team participating in the event, however. 3 other projects were mentioned. First, Square Enix confirmed Platinum Games will be attending to show more of its upcoming action game Babylon's Fall. Second, Deck 9's previously announced Life is Strange, True Colors will have a deep dive presented. The third project mentioned is Crystal Dynamics' already available Marvel's Avengers, which will share details about the upcoming Black Panther War for Wakanda expansion. Just because Square Enix only mentioned 4 projects by name doesn't mean that it won't have other surprises to share during E3 2021. Square Enix says that its E3 2021 lineup is mostly under wraps for now, so fans can expect some big surprises. The lack of Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Remake, or the rumored Final Fantasy Origins spin-off RPG are especially notable. Those curious about what Eidos Montreal's next game might be will be pleased to hear there are a variety of leaks and rumors surrounding the project. It's rumored to be based on Marvel's successful Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Little is known about what kind of game Eidos Montreal's Guardians of the Galaxy will be, however. Given the developer's history of releasing single-player RPGs, it'd be a surprise if Guardians of the Galaxy was anything else. Square Enix fans will be able to find out everything the publisher will be announcing on June 13th at 12:15 p.m. Pacific Time. That doesn't mean Square Enix won't have other announcements as part of other E3 events, like other press conferences, or throughout the week, but for Square Enix's fans, this is the event not to miss. While it is possible that content like the Cosmic Cube Villain Sector and the Wasteland Patrol mode will be shown off, what is confirmed for the event is the War for Wakanda expansion. With gamers last hearing about the DLC in March, this is Crystal Dynamics' chance to really dive into the content and possibly win back some lapsed fans. As such, Marvel's Avengers players can expect to see a lot from the Black Panther DLC. Not only would a lengthy gameplay demo make sense, as plenty of eyes would be on the game due to the hype around E3, but the expansion is still scheduled for a 2021 release. With the content likely just a few months away, Square Enix's E3 presentation is the best possible time for a deep dive into War for Wakanda. While it remains to be seen if the content can save Marvel's Avengers, fans can be confident that they will hear a lot about it next week. Outside of the future imperfect DLC's Wasteland, the locations of Marvel's Avengers are extremely generic. This has proven to be a major negative with fans, and with Marvel having such a storied comic book history, the lack of unique settings to fight AIM in is confusing. Fortunately, it seems like Crystal Dynamics is setting out to correct this problem. The titular location of the War for Wakanda DLC looks like it could be the most exciting region in the game thus far, and gamers can expect it to get shown off at E3. With the War for Wakanda reveal teaser showing off playable areas alongside the king himself, fans already have some idea of what to expect. At E3, gamers can expect a look at Wakanda's jungles and city. Both offer more visual variety than the random deserts and forests from the current war zones, and Marvel fans should have a ton of fun exploring the African country. A new outpost has been teased, giving gamers somewhere like the helicarrier and anthill to rest and take on missions. While it is purely speculation, many fans have theorized that T'Challa's throne room could serve as this hub space. The Wakandan jungles will finally be filled with enemies other than AIM, as a new Claw faction is being introduced. Led by the supervillain of the same name, few details have been provided as to how these enemies will look or fight. If they are different from the usual AIM cannon fodder, though, they should be a welcome change of pace. A boss fight with Claw could be super promising as well, and with other villains teased, it would be great to see another boss battle with someone like Killmonger or Manape. With this being one of the most promising aspects of the War for Wakanda DLC, fans can expect to see either Claw or his faction in action. Currently, Marvel's Avengers fans have no clue what the story will be about, though given Claw's history, Vibranium will likely be involved. Past arcs have seen him invading Wakanda for the precious resource, and the original teaser hints at a possible partnership with AIM that could see him securing the durable metal. While this is not too different from other Black Panther stories, having the Avengers involved could add a new layer to the plot. With it also being unclear how experienced this version of T'Challa is, gamers could be interacting with a young king or a seasoned ruler. With a new hero comes new cosmetics, and gamers can expect to see plenty of alternate looks for Black Panther at E3. While these may be flashed quickly via a montage, the skins serve as the game's main source of premium DLC, so they will likely be seen in some form. While it remains to be seen if Black Panther will get one of his MCU suits, classic looks from the comics like Casper Cole would be awesome. Outside of Black Panther skins, it seems likely that the other Avengers will get outfits, with Vibranium suits being an excellent option. The DLC is also set to introduce more power levels to Marvel's Avengers, and it will be interesting to see how the system works. While the new champion system adds some post-level 50 progression, a proper power level increase suggests that new skill trees will be added. If War for Wakanda can introduce some proper endgame content for gamers to enjoy, being able to unlock new skills for heroes could serve as a great reason to keep playing. With a new power level cap being a big deal, fans should expect it to be brought up during the presentation. Finally, there is the most important bit of content from the DLC, and that is Black Panther himself. Out of everything, he is the most likely to be shown, as seeing T'Challa claw through enemies is the most obvious way to build excitement for the expansion. While War for Wakanda's other content is more important to the game in the long term, the short-term appeal of Black Panther cannot be ignored. As such, gamers can expect to see the ins and outs of his moveset. Voice actor Christopher Judge should also get the chance to shine as well. With Marvel's Avengers traversal being a consistent source of controversy, it will be interesting to see how Black Panther moves in the DLC. His abilities should be far easier to predict though, with rapid attacks and focused pounces likely. A vibranium spear is also possible for his ranged attack, with the tool materializing in his hand whenever he calls upon it. The intrinsic energy system provides the perfect chance for a move from the Black Panther movie, with T'Challa's suit absorbing kinetic energy and releasing it once full. For his ultimate, a damage boost is possible, though it would be a bit cooler to see him dash from enemy to enemy for quick kills. Finally, there is the topic of a release date, and this seems like the perfect time for the announcement to be made. Given the current pattern of Marvel's Avengers roadmap releases, August would be the month of Black Panther's debut. Given the expansion size though, it would not be too shocking if the content kept being worked on for a few months. Regardless, fans can expect a date that is a lot more specific than 2021, giving them yet another reason to be excited. With War for Wakanda serving as the game's biggest chance for a comeback, fans should be prepared for tons of information on June 13th. Marvel's Avengers from Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics has proven to be a disappointment to its corporate parents and players alike. With gameplay that fluctuates between fun and grindy, and a disappointing live service endgame, Marvel's Avengers mostly leaves players wondering what other superhero games they could play. As such, the live service model that Marvel's Avengers launched with has proved to be a detriment rather than a strength, as there are fewer players to serve. Players are leaving the game in droves, with lower concurrent and peak counts each month. Nowhere is this clearer than on PC, where Steam tells a clear story with some surprising twists. One Reddit user caught an incredible moment on Steam charts where the player base for Marvel's Avengers on Steam dropped to 0. However, it is not clear whether or not this represented a moment of 0 players, or if it was just a glitch in the data. If it is a glitch though, it is not a unique one for Marvel's Avengers Steam chart, as there are 2 other instances over the past month where the player count dropped to 0. If that's not an incentive for the developers to fix the problems with Marvel's Avengers, nothing will be. While the 0 players moments are outliers from the overall Steam chart, the trend in player count is decidedly downwards. After a monumental decline after the first month of release, Marvel's Avengers has been steadily bleeding players on PC with only a couple of reversals. A small one occurred during December, which can probably be attributed to Christmas, and another in March thanks to the Hawkeye DLC. However, the downward trend continued afterward, so whatever expectations players have of the Black Panther DLC, it probably won't save the game. Despite an updated roadmap released for Marvel's Avengers, the future of the game does not look bright. Many issues that players have complained about remain in place, and the Avengers game that most players wanted, with a strong single-player story and finely tuned levels, remains a dream. If there's a moment for Marvel's Avengers to win back fans, it may have already passed, or it may be coming far too late. One of the more vocal complaints recently was players denouncing a Hawkeye skin, and when neither the skins nor the gameplay hold appeal for players, it's likely the player count will continue to drop. It's a shame that a great franchise like the Avengers being leveled down in the game, and they really need to come back. And what better way to make a comeback by showcasing the Black Panther at E3, and this time it should not be like just fighting machines, the story should be immersive, and there should be stealth gameplay, as well as better mechanics, and Wakanda Forever will change the game's face in the industry. Moving forward, we have the Nintendo Showcase. Nintendo is the latest company to throw its hat in the ring, and as usual, it will likely be the last to host an E3 presentation. Announced via the company's various social media channels today, Nintendo's E3 2021 presentation is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, June 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. As has been the case in recent years, Nintendo's presence at E3 2021 will be in the form of a special Nintendo Direct presentation. This year, Nintendo fans can expect about 40 minutes of game reveals and announcements during the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct presentation, followed by around 3 hours of gameplay to be shown during the Nintendo Treehouse Live. The bulk of the big news will undoubtedly take place during the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct, but the Treehouse should provide a more in-depth look at the games. Nintendo confirmed in its tweet that the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct will focus exclusively on Nintendo Switch games, in particular games releasing in 2021. As it stands, there aren't a ton of Nintendo-published Switch games confirmed for 2021, so the E3 Nintendo Direct should do a good job of filling out the company's release schedule throughout the rest of the year. That doesn't mean that fans won't get a glimpse at 2022 games though. The key word in the tweet is that the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct will mostly focus on games releasing in 2021, which leaves the door wide open for Nintendo to showcase some other titles as well. This could potentially include games like Splatoon 3 or Metroid Prime 4, with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 highly likely to make an appearance as well. This way Nintendo can let fans know about the Switch games they can buy this year, while also giving them something to look forward to in 2022. Another big takeaway from the announcement is that Nintendo's E3 2021 presentation will be focusing exclusively on Nintendo Switch software. This means that fans shouldn't tune in expecting to learn about the rumored Switch Pro console. However, if various insiders and leakers to be believed, Nintendo plans on revealing the Switch Pro console prior to E3 anyway, so hopefully there will be some clarification soon about the Switch Pro's price, release date, and exactly what it's bringing to the table. And we have Koch Media. Deep Silver is only one of many companies that has the chance to talk about its projects this year. As the owner of nostalgic IPs like Dead Island and Saints Row, Deep Silver, and its parent company Koch Media could definitely make a big impact this year. Oddly enough though, Deep Silver recently confirmed that it won't be bringing Dead Island or Saints Row to E3 2021. That's frankly a pretty shocking confirmation. Fans of both these Deep Silver franchises desperately want to see a new game produced, so they find it agonizing that it's been so many years since a new entry. Apparently neither of these franchises are anywhere near getting a new game. However, although that seems like it'd be a huge blow to morale for Dead Island and Saints Row fans, it's actually a good thing that Deep Silver and Koch Media are being so transparent. Open lines of communication between fans and developers can be hard to find in the game industry. Deep Silver's honesty will actually protect its reputation better than letting fans down at E3. Dead Island and Saints Row have been missing from the game industry for a pretty long time. Dead Island 2 is an increasingly notorious example of a game trapped in development. It's been about a decade since it was first announced, being passed from developer to developer over the course of the years. Deep Silver and Dambuster Studios promise they're working on Dead Island 2, but it hasn't revealed much more than that. In a similar vein, the newest Saints Row game came out in 2013. Developer Volition confirmed Saints Row 5's existence a long time ago, but fans still haven't seen hide nor hair of it. Koch Media is coming to E3, but as a recent statement indicated, Dead Island and Saints Row aren't. Deep Silver and Koch Media seem like they're setting themselves up for failure by admitting to fans that they don't want to talk about these franchises yet, but it's the right move. If Koch Media didn't warn fans that its presentation wouldn't include these hotly demanded games, the ensuing disappointment would be immeasurable. Dead Island and Saints Row fans are sure to be sad for now that updates on these games aren't around the corner, but it's better to let the community down easy than to lift up their hopes, then leave them wanting. E3 is the wrong place for Koch Media and Deep Silver to make a bad impression. Koch Media isn't the only studio that needs to be wary of how fans will think of it differently after E3. Everyone who's attending E3 2021 needs to make a big comeback after more than a year of setbacks and missing announcements. Even Nintendo needs to impress fans at E3, considering how many important games fans want to hear about, like The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2, and Metroid Prime 4. It doesn't matter that Nintendo is one of the biggest, most formative companies in the game industry. It could still walk out of E3 with heavy fan backlash on its hands if it doesn't tell fans about a big chunk of its many demanded games. Deep Silver is already dealing with a lot of restless who want to hear something significant about Dead Island 2 and Saints Row 5. It doesn't need to risk causing trouble by saying nothing about these games during Koch Media's time at E3. Therefore, it's opted for the safer way of disappointing us by telling them in advance that the games won't be there. It's a much softer way of telling fans a piece of news that would have been disappointed either way. Deep Silver certainly has been vague and largely quiet about the state of Dead Island and Saints Row, but at least it was clear with fans this time. If fans can accept no news on these games at E3, then Deep Silver would have actual news to share later in the year. Other than those, Konami, Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Take-Two are also participating. Take-Two could show BioShock 4 and the newly rumored Marvel XCOM game. Warner Brothers are also present, and we can expect the rumored Marvel fighting games or, who knows, maybe a Marvel vs. DC game. Warner Brothers Interactive doesn't usually have its own dedicated E3 press conference, but it was reportedly going to do so at E3 2020. Unfortunately, the coronavirus pandemic saw E3 2020 cancelled, and so Warner Brothers made its big announcements elsewhere, pulling the curtain back on games like Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights, and Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. With E3 back in business this year and Warner Brothers confirmed to be attending, some may have hoped to get updates on these big games, but anyone expecting to see them will be disappointed. A spokesperson for Warner Brothers Interactive confirmed to TechRadar that none of the aforementioned games will be at E3 2021. It's possible this is because none of the games are actually releasing this year. Hogwarts Legacy was delayed to 2022, as was Gotham Knights, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League isn't expected to release for years. However, Warner Bros. Didn't offer a reasoning behind its decision, so that's just speculation at this time. While those big Warner Bros. Games won't be at E3, the company will still have a presence at the show. On Sunday, June 13th at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, fans can tune in to see a special showcase for Back 4 Blood, a Warner Bros. Game that is actually set to launch in 2021. The showcase will reportedly provide an in-depth look at Back 4 Blood's PvP mode, though other details are unavailable at the time of this writing. For the uninitiated, Back 4 Blood is a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, developed by original Left 4 Dead company Turtle Rock Studios. Back 4 Blood was playable in closed alpha form late last year, and the general reaction to the game seems to be a positive one so far. It was originally meant to launch this summer, until the decision was made to delay Back 4 Blood to its new release date in October. While Back 4 Blood was delayed to October 12th, that doesn't mean fans won't get to play it this summer. In fact, there are plans for Back 4 Blood to have an open beta at some point, though exact dates haven't been nailed down just yet. Perhaps fans will learn more about Back 4 Blood's beta at E3 2021, though they'll need to tune into the presentation on June 13th to know for sure. Back 4 Blood fans have a lot to look forward to this weekend, though those looking forward to other Warner Bros. Game may be disappointed, and understandably so. With games like Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights delayed to 2022, hopefully we don't have to wait until next year to get their next glimpse of the games. With many companies starting to share E3 plans, Capcom has finally joined in by announcing new details for its digital showcase. Taking place on Monday, June 14th at 2:30 PT, Capcom has revealed a number of games that will be featured, including The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Resident Evil Village, and Monster Hunter Rise. Considering that the last two games in the list have already launched, fans should expect some news on upcoming DLC. There's been a lot of recent speculation regarding potential DLC for Resident Evil Village and what it could entail, but considering previous mainline games got their own post-launch support, fans shouldn't be too surprised to see some sort of spin-off or expansion here either. Not only that, Capcom also probably has an update to share on the formerly free multiplayer component Resident Evil Reverse, before it was delayed beyond the launch of Village. It's worth noting that Capcom could have more at the show than just those 4 games, as the tweet hints at a larger showcase that includes the listed games, but isn't limited to them. It's possible that Capcom could also opt to not only reveal new content at its own conference, but partnered with a major company like Microsoft. There is precedence, as 2 years ago, Capcom chose to reveal Devil May Cry 5 at the Microsoft E3 press conference, and then again last year with Sony by showing off Pragmata for the first time. While the news gives fans a starting point of what to expect from Capcom, many have continued to speculate that Capcom has at least a few more surprises in store. Resident Evil 4 Remake is a game that has seemingly had endless rumors appear over the past few months, while many believe Capcom could instead be working on a Resident Evil Outbreak/Resident Evil Revelations 3 game instead. Dragon's Dogma 2 is another fan-favorite game that has gained a lot of momentum after creator Hideaki Itsuno teased potential franchise news earlier this year. Finally, Capcom is a big fighting game company, so naturally theories have continued to revolve around major franchises like Street Fighter, either as the next mainline title or perhaps new gameplay for the remaining Street Fighter V DLC characters like Akira and Oro. Only time will tell. E3 has always been a celebration for gamers when it was a live physical event. But when it turned digital, it lost some of its significance, and due to PlayStation not participating in E3, it seems like E3 is empty to me. I am excited for E3, but there is a major gap, because the industry leader is absent. And I hope them to have a presentation in June or July. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and if you want to contribute for the growth of the channel, the link to my PayPal in the video's description and in the channel banner. As my resources are very limited, donations are always appreciated, and it can help me to create more contents and share news consistently, and could open doors for live streams, game playthroughs, podcasts, merch, etc. Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV it's goodbye.